Hi, welcome once again to the weekly Madly in Love marriage blog. My name is Mark Olsey.
I'm Zarin Olsey, and tonight we want to talk to you a little bit more about another aspect of communication.
Several months ago, I was talking to a nuclear power plant supervisor, and he was telling me that when he gives instructions to a worker, the protocol is that worker must echo back to him what was spoken to him to make sure he got it all correctly.
Oh, that's a good idea, especially in a nuclear power plant.
Especially in a nuclear power plant. My next thought was, interesting. I bet that would be true also in the nuclear family. If husbands and wives would do that with each other, echo back and forth what they've heard, or parents with children, children with parents, particularly when it comes to conflict. Here's what I mean. A conflict happens. One person tries to tell the other what they're thinking and feeling, and before long, what happens?
The other party is interrupting.
And therefore they're not really hearing each other well. The conflict grows in intensity, and things get much worse, and or eventually the couple just shuts down, no more talking, and the anger just kind of gets buried.
And the issue doesn't get resolved, and then it comes out later full-blown more because it's been pressed down.
Exactly. So what is it that really goes wrong in situations like that?
Well, true listening has not happened.
Exactly. Think again of my opening illustration. What would have happened if the worker interrupted, again, the nuclear supervisor while getting his instructions?
He might miss vital information.
Vital and valuable information for sure. He could have missed it and bad things would have happened. Again, the same is true, I think, for couples, particularly when they're dialoguing, working through conflict. They miss very important information that would help them to resolve the conflict, and instead they miss it. Things get much worse, and it eventually leads to a meltdown.
So what can we do, Mark, to help with that?
For healthy conversation to take place, as hard as it is, when one person is speaking, the other one must remain quiet while listening.
Duct tape the mouth.
There you go. One of the best helps in bringing this about is this, that the person listening must keep in mind that before he says anything in return, he or she first has to echo back what the other person has said and see if he got it correctly. This actually forces the listener to do it well.
Yeah, because if I have to tell you what you said to me, I'm going to really be listening hard.
Exactly.
Because I'm being held accountable.
Exactly. Perfect.
Wow.
Right on.
Yes.
Another benefit in echoing back and forth is if I echo back to you, it helps me to know whether or not I've heard you correctly.
And it helps me to know whether you heard me correctly.
Exactly. So, here's what I want you to do. Keep the following in mind this week when a meaningful conversation takes place or if a discussion begins about a point of conflict. Let's say you're the listener. What I want you to do is to focus entirely on what the other person has said or is saying until they're done speaking so you can echo back to them and make sure you heard it correctly.
And once you echo back to them, then you want to ask them if you did hear them correctly or if there's more that they need to add that you need to hear. And if you get a sense from them that you didn't really say everything, then you can invite them to tell you again. Sometimes that takes patience on our listening parts.
Yeah, but it's good. And only after you have listened well enough to echo back correctly what you heard should you consider sharing your own thoughts on the matter. And the reason this is so important is that the one speaking won't really feel ready to listen to the other person until they've been listened to first.
And when you listen to me well, I feel a peace with that. I feel loved and cared for by you, and I'm a little more ready and willing to listen to you.
And to bless me and to love me in the same way. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, following this pattern will take you one step further to understanding the necessary ingredients for good communication and for walking through conflict in a healthy and a love-filled manner. One more thought. Echoing is the third of 6 steps that we're going to be talking about. Third of 6 steps in processing conflict. You can read about the first 2 steps if you look right beneath the video blog right down there. Talk to you again next week. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.